Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday morning session. Hold on a second here. The market just opened and it seems very active for a change. Of course, if you were watching the market at all yesterday, we saw a huge decline in the NASDAQ and the stock indices for that matter. Everybody was happy to sell yesterday. And I think we might see more of the same today. Oop, come back here. Here's the first micro-macro cross. Let's first, before we get too excited, it's still the opening minute. You can see big sell-off during yesterday's session. Or pardon me, that was the overnight session, not just the yesterday's session. A little bit of a retracement. A failure of a macro pullback signal, and here we come with the first micro-macro cross. Now, of course, the problem with the first micro-macro cross developing down here, I think we hit our profit target. Yep, just hit the profit target. Now this might well reverse into a macro pullback. I suspect we should get an opportunity through here somewhere. I'm going to dial back my stops a little bit and maybe see if I can't put a runner in play today too. A reminder that at the end of this week, we're going to take a break from the trading room for a little bit. All right, we're getting a signal here on the Raptor as well as the Falcon. Now this is sort of a trend change signal, or the first signal with trend. The problem here is that we don't really have a good test of the extreme yet. So if we're going to take this one, we need to be prepared that the market might try to pull back into the hard edge. Sort of a testing the water type trade. And in fact, I may hold my stop right there above that swing high. All this support down here, obvious buying going on. Yeah, come on down. Whenever you encounter, people are always asking me, Eric, do you sell into support areas or buy into resistance areas? You can, but you need to know that the market might retrace like this. Often the safer thing to do is to let it break and then retest. Once you get that retest, then you're going to have a better selling opportunity. But we do have a little bit of a swing high here. You can see it was also supported by this swing high here. In fact, I might dial it back a couple extra ticks just to take this swing area into account also. No, they're not gonna give it to us. It looks like they're gonna go into a double pullback. All right, so at the moment they don't seem inclined to head much lower. Now that can be a valuable piece of information. Okay, we are getting a little bit of conflict here in the signals. You'll see we're getting a first micro macro cross higher, but we're also getting, oh, come on now. We're also getting a green bar sell in the eagle, or working on a green bar sell. All right, now this is going into a macro pullback. So very similar to what we were looking at the other day. I was hoping we would be over this by now, but maybe not. Okay, once again, this is a macro pullback. You can see here's the green bar sell off of the eagle. So conflicting signals. And what I'll do is I'll do one of these, and whichever side fills first, I'll cancel the other. So it's almost like an OCO order. Oh, I was just about to adjust my first micro macro cross, but the market decided to head higher. So I'm going to cancel that order there. And here we come now with a buy signal on the eagle also. So we're going to take that like so. Okay, time to get this trade to break even. Now with the what I was going to say is a lot of times I'll turn this off. the display just because I find it distracting. But I'm not going to have a chance to point it out to you now unless the market reverses on me here. Oh, there they go. They're heading a little bit higher again. What I was going to tell you is there's absolutely nothing wrong with punching out. I saw here $200. Oh, there you go. There's nothing wrong with the market flashing you $200 and closing the trade, right? It's a bird in the hand scenario. Yes, the market might continue higher, and there it goes. But there's never, ever feel bad about punching out of a trade with, um, a substantial amount of profit. And we all have our own pain threshold, right? I'm not saying that for you, $250 might have been a lot, or $270, whatever it worked out here. But don't be shy about taking that. When the market is floundering here, there's no way to know that it's going to go higher. If you have the ability to ride it a little bit higher, then that's fine too. Go with that. I guess what I'm trying to say is you need to know what kind of trader you are. Now here we are with our Eagle trade, right? It's starting to flicker a little bit. There's $150 open profit. Again, there's nothing wrong with just hitting the close button, taking that profit. Or at the very least, you would want to take your trade to break even. But you always need to ask yourself, okay, if I take this trade to break even now and I lose the $150, how would that make me feel? Would I be very upset with myself for not taking the $150 when I had it? Or would I be okay with it, knowing that, maybe the market would have gone higher? You got to watch that bird in the hand scenario, though. A lot of times it will end up costing you money that you could have had. So we'll see now whether or not this was a good strategy, whether or not we would be able to ride out this pending swing on the Eagle. Would we have done better than the $150? Or is the market going to reverse on us and take us out at break even, which is where this yellow line is at? Yeah, like Joe says, you're only sure in hindsight. Oh, thanks, Jim. Jim says the advanced decline is tipped to the negative side a little bit, about a negative 400, which would confirm, well, not really confirm what we're seeing, is it? We're seeing the market rally somewhat now, but perhaps that negative advanced decline is going to put a little bit of a crimp in things. Okay, so that could have been a little bit of quick profit taking this morning for some of the traders. Today I'm also watching crude oil and the British pound. I thought we'd throw the pound up for a little bit of change of pace. Yeah, here's a problem. Like Joe says, a lot of people struggle with this. He says, sometimes I have a hard time taking the profit, thinking there could be more of a move. There is always the possibility of more of a move, of course, right? But what we're doing here is we're trying to take calculated risks, really, right? So here's a late filter entry signal. Okay, we know this tends to be a reliable signal. So first thing I do is figure out, okay, what is this going to cost me to be wrong? So the signal's probably not going to print here because this is simply my warning dot. So it's probably going to print, oh, there it is. It will print somewhere near there. So the signal is printing right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, okay, well, we're going to have to pause this. So now I take a look, how much is it going to take to enter above that high? So it looks like it's going to take about 5 or 6 ticks to get above that high. And then I need to decide, well, if I take it above that high, where am I going to cover it? Can I cover it all the way down there? Well, yes, I can. If this looks like a reasonable probability trade to me, like probable in the sense that I'm going to hit my profit objective, then I can take the trade. Otherwise, I need to look at perhaps restructuring it. You see, sometimes what happens when your signal produces this close to this little swing high, chances are it's going to drift a couple of ticks anyhow. So if that looks good, then you take the trade based on the probability of the signal, and there you go. You hit your profit target. And that's what we always try to do as traders, right? We try to take a calculated risk. That's why we're looking at things like the late filter entry. We're looking at things like the macro pullback, or even a 4-arrow consolidation in this case. Right? We try to focus on those types of things so that perhaps we can skew the trade in our favor. Okay, now here, good example. The eagle, we punched out here with our profit, or I punched out with the $150 profit. The market has since gone higher, would have hit the $200 profit objective. Well, actually, I set it up differently. I set it up like this, I think. So it hit up the $200 profit target and came back with another buy signal shortly thereafter. Do I feel bad about leaving the extra $50 on the table? No, not at all. You know, I think a lot of, and I know everybody's heard this before, but fear and greed, right? The two biggest obstacles for traders, probably. We're fearful we're going to miss on a trade. We're fearful we're going to leave money behind. We're fearful we're going to get into a bad trade. And then the greed is kind of the other side of that equation, where, you know, once again, they're kind of playing off each other, aren't they? The fear and the greed, where we want to maximize the trade. We want as much money as we can get out of the trade, but It is very much that bird in the hand scenario. So do your best not to beat yourself up if you happen to miss a trade or get out of a trade too early. And while I was yakking, the British pound flashed us a very nice trend change signal right here and has since made a very good progression lower. Look at that pound go. Great little move on the British pound. As far as the currencies go, the British pound, it can be a little bit crazy, I'll warn you, but it's the currency version of the mini index markets. It trades at 6.25 a tick, so you can certainly get in there with some size. Because of the way the pound trades, I go with our alternate bar settings. Even though it only trades at 6.25 a tick, and normally we would use our 6, 8, 12 setting, I find that the pound works a little bit better if we go with a 4, 4, and 6. And the reason is, well, here, let me bring over the eagle and I can show you. We want to look at the daybreak lines, right? So here's yesterday's session. We want to roll this over. Oh, actually, there was quite a bit there. A lot of times what will happen with the pound is you're going to start to see sessions like this, where you're just not getting enough going on that you can actually trade it. That's why I tend to dial it down to the smaller size. And if you ever do adjust your brick size, what you want to do is you want to take a look at your charts and you want to see, okay, how are my high probability signals doing? Here's a green bar sell. Okay, good follow through there. That worked out well. We had a trend change signal. Didn't get much of a test of the extreme, which is a little bit surprising. I suppose it came late here. With trend signal here, and you would do the same thing on your Hawk and Falcon tools. Make sure that your signals are responding correctly. And speaking of green bar sells, crude oil going a little bit sideways, but we are getting a green bar sell right here, and it looks as though we have an opportunity for a second push on the entry also, which is nice. It's beating up on these lows. Oh, see, that's the problem with crude oil. I should try to dial up mini crude. I haven't looked at the mini crude market for a while. Just one second, I'm going to see if I can't pull that one up. The mini crude symbol, for those of you who are interested, is QM. And it trades, Jim is asking, what is the tick value? It trades at a quarter the value of the full crude oil. Or the tick size is a quarter. All right, so let's see here if we can't get it. Uh-oh, maybe it's not in my, oh no, maybe it is in my data feed. Okay, I'm just going to let it finish loading so I don't break something. Is it still loading? Oh, there they go. Okay. I didn't break it, not yet. All right, so here's the mini crude market, and I think it's moving. So here's May mini crude on the hawk, and let's see if we're getting a macro pullback signal here. There we go. So you can see a lot more affordable than the big crude contract, but of course your profits are adjusted accordingly. So I might leave that up. I forget why I stopped watching the mini crude. It might, we'll see. Today's session might remind me why. Okay, back to the action here at the NQ. Oh, a very nice first micro macro cross here. You know, this would have been a nail biter because, again, no real test of the extreme. In hindsight, I guess we can say this was it right here. Right, and then the market fell off. But when this first micro macro cross was printing, I probably would have risked it up there. And by now, I definitely would have the trade down to break even. Oh, and a very nice looking trade out of that also. Wow, everybody is just flashing signals so fast. Here's the trend change signal on the Falcon. It also would have worked out very well. Wow, they're just crazy. Craziness. Joe's asking, is that about the mini crude market, the QM? Is that the same as the CL? Yes, but it's the electronic version. The E-mini crude oil, I think, is the technical name for it. E-mini crude. if you're looking for it in your assortment. Symbol is QM. And it will move in sync with the big crude market. I think what the problem I had before when I looked at it was liquidity, but it must have improved somewhat. It's always nice if you can take a trade a little bit on the cheap. We don't normally see the market make such straight lines up and down, do we? Here on the Raptor, you know, straight move up, straight move down. This is not characteristic. Okay, here's an opportunity in the Falcon. It doesn't give me a warm fuzzy feeling. Oh, it's starting to turn over. This was flashing a possible late filter entry signal when this bar was still forming. And what I was going to suggest, while this bar was still forming, the logic counter was down here. Our filter had not flipped over yet. Our trend line was still red. I was going to say you could anticipate the change on the filter by setting up below the low of wherever the logic counter was going to print. But of course, the danger with the market coming straight down like this is that we're going to see a real test of the extreme before it does a full-on reversal. Here's an early trend change signal, speaking of the test of the extreme. Now, definitely a riskier trade, definitely looking a little bit counter trend, definitely one I want to dial down my risk amount on. So this is the early trend change signal because the signal printed just as the trend line was flipping over. I try not to get too excited about what looks like an obvious counter trend signal. But, you know, we know that more often than not, we do see a test of the extreme before there is a full-on reversal. Again, our hawk giving a conflicting signal. We're getting a 4-arrow consolidation here in the hawk, so it might be another one of these OCO type situations where whatever side fills first. Oops, just about to hit that submit button. Technically, with the 4-arrow consolidation, I wanted to enter back here, but by the time I pointed it out, the market had already slipped a little bit. Okay, so we can cancel that. Wow, the pound still falling off the map. Bad news in Britain, whatever's going on there. Ah, Joe says the retail sales were positive this morning, so that probably accounted for a little bit of a uptick in the market, that short-term uptick. All right, so here's the Eagle. Same problem. We don't really have a test of the extreme. How is the trend line falling here? If I shoot a trend line across the bottom, oh, we still got some room to move. This is the kind of trade, where am I going to cover it? Am I going to cover it way up there? Well, I can't afford it. Oh, and now they're going to try to run away on me before I can demonstrate this. Will I wait for a second push entry? Now that the market has dipped below the lows here, is it going to press up and give me an opportunity to take a second push on this entry? When it was building here, though, the big concern for me was, where am I going to cover this trade? Right? And maybe this swing high here. I think this swing high is a little bit too cozy. So let's say I take this swing high here. That's a decent looking setup. And we would almost be in a position that we can definitely get our trade to break even right now. So a couple of good opportunities this morning, still primarily to the short side. This is one of these shooting fish in a barrel kind of day, at least on the NASDAQ. Oh, Joe says the big boys move the market, that way they can profit from its move. Well, yes and no. They can move it a little bit. They can't move it a lot. Mini crude kind of taking its time at the moment. Looking at a possible late filter entry signal here on the QM. We got the warning dot. Haven't printed the hash mark yet, or the triangle, and the filter hasn't flipped over just yet. We're still working our macro pullback here in crude. If this bar finishes lower, come on, I'm going to get more aggressive about rolling my stop in. See these bars here with these long wicks to them? And probably a good spot to start rolling my stop above. Come on. There we go. So in case there's a little bit of a bounce here now, then, well, I've reduced my risk exposure somewhat, and I start pressing the trade also. Wow, definitely a four-figure day today between the pound, the NASDAQ, crude oil is surprisingly the slow market today. How often does that happen? Terrific news here. Dustin's sharing a little tip. He says, I'm starting to, just one second, I'm just adjusting my trade a little bit. There we go. Dustin says, I started moving my stops to break even on the Falcon after one bar in the direction of the trade, and it's working pretty flawlessly. Fantastic news. That is a strength of the DTS system, is that the market or you tend to pick up signals with momentum. Oh, here, let's go to the Falcon, because the Hawk, you need to give a little bit of wiggle room to. But let's say, here's our trade. We get brought in. The next bar goes in our direction. So now Dustin is saying he's moving his trade to break even. And takes a lot of strain off of the trade if you know that at the worst you're going to do is break even. Now, in a day like today and a day like yesterday, where the market is finally seeing some follow through, that is a great strategy to employ. But put in the back of your mind how the market was earlier this week and how it was toward the latter part of last week. Yes, most times we see the market move in this type of fashion where we actually get a little bit of activity. But recognize, now that you've actually lived it, recognize that there are periods when the market is not going to have a lot of follow through to it. Here, I'm just going to dial this back to a couple days ago, where you get days like this. And don't be frustrated when you do start to see days like this. So, just be aware that these types of periods exist, just like the periods that we're experiencing now where there's actual movement. So when you next time, in the next 6 or 8 weeks, when the market hits the skids again and starts going sideways for a while, you won't be caught by surprise, and you won't be frustrated and saying, what am I doing wrong? And it's just the way the market is, and you need to adjust your strategy and your thinking accordingly. Okay, crude oil hit our macro pullback target. Hooray. Sorry, I was looking back at the mini crude, and here's the eagle on mini crude. Working on a possible trend change signal yet. The band not quite turned over just yet. The problem, of course, is this is pretty much where crude started the day, so we're back at the daily low, and there's no test of the extreme here that I can see. Now, in hindsight, it may develop that this little hiccup here was the test of the extreme, but when you're looking at these tests of the extreme, this is what brought us here, right? This is the rally that brought us here. Is this all that the buyers are going to be able to muster? I wouldn't think so. Notice how our daybreak lines are here. See, I think this is maybe why I got away from the mini market. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dial down my brick size from 12 to 10 on my eagle. My hawk and falcon still look good. But let's see what a 10-tick brick looks like on the eagle, because these daybreak lines are coming too close together. And you can compare them, it's a good idea to compare them with the big crude market. Okay, I'll put that away while that's loading. Oh, here it comes. All right, so that looks a little better. Do I only have the day session loading here? No, I've got the 24 session. Odd. All right, well, let's put that on the shelf for now. Good job, Dustin. I'm glad to hear it. Dustin says, today has been awesome. 5 wins, 0 losses for $2,100. Well done, Dustin. He says, moonshine and Kool-Aid for everyone. Yeah, there's, days like today, days like yesterday it's just fun to be a trader because there's so much follow through on the market, on your signals. Uh, you quite literally, oftentimes you can't put the signals on fast enough, or you can't put the trades on fast enough. Joe's asking about mini crude margin. It will be less than the big crude contract, probably considerably less. You'll have to check with your broker. Every broker is a little bit different about their margins, but it will be a lot less than the big crude, especially if you're just day trading it. Yeah, and a lot of seesaw action going on here, like Joe says. All right, so it looks like a little bit of profit taking going on here at the moment. We are getting a first micro macro cross signal, but look at what's happening. We're starting to get all these yellow bars cropping up again. So if I'm going to take this first micro macro cross, I'm going to take it above the high. Can I cover it below the low? No, I can't, not for 1%. I dialed the risk down a little bit. Can I cover it there? Yeah, I could. Now this is not an attractive trade. Do you know why? Why is this not a real good looking trade? There's a couple of things going on here. I want you to see why some trades look better than others. Yes, this is a first micro macro cross. Yes, it is a high probability signal. But what is the dominant direction today? The market's going down, right? We are in a downtrend today. This is obviously a buy signal. What am I missing here to give me some confidence in this buy signal? Well, I haven't really seen a test of the lows, have I? I haven't seen a test of the extreme. Had I seen a test of the extreme and then a buy signal, well, that might make it a little bit more inviting, at least from a scalper's point of view, because I can get in and out with profit. And in fact, this is the type of trade scenario where you probably will want to take profit on target. So as this drifts deeper, it becomes a little bit more enticing, but still the trades, which trades have been paying off today? Have your long trades been paying off or your short trades? Well, actually both were paying off. The long trades were paying off early and the short trades were paying off just a little bit later. But right now, it's the short trades that are paying. So here we come with a macro pullback. Oh, hold on. I want to point something out here. Let's see if we can if we're going to do this. Oh, they're already past me. I was going to say, if we're going to do this, let's do it with an all-in, all-out mindset, where we're just going to go in 1%, try to grab our $50 and be done with it. Let's see if they're going to hit our profit target. If they hit the profit target, there should actually be a little follow through to that. If the buyers slip this little swing high. But I hope you can see how this buy is not as attractive as, you know, this macro pullback sell or this 4-arrow consolidation sell. You know, when these signals developed here, we had a market already in a strong downtrend. We produce a 4-arrow consolidation. It even has that characteristic bear flag look to it. You know, there's a lot of things going on here saying, yeah, this would be all right. Let's sell this. And then boom, 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 hit our profit target. Thank you very much. One, two, three. Okay, working on a 4-arrow consolidation. And oh, and I meant to go in with the stop limit. Oh well, whatever. They slipped us a tick on the entry. But there you go. It's because it seems counter trend to me. This is the kind of trade where I just want to get in, I want to get out. Give me the 50 bucks. I'm okay even if this market rallies all the way up here to 4,300, which it looks like it might do. Yeah, like Jim says, Eric, we tested the 10 a.m. low and it bounced. What other extreme is there? Well, I'm talking about the, okay. Yeah, I know, okay, hold on a second here. Let's see if I can clarify. Because James looks at the charts a little more matter-of-factly. I'm looking at the more recent price action. So here's the 10 a.m. low. And Jim's absolutely correct. The market came down, bounced off of the low, and now it's heading higher. Well, how do I know it's going to continue higher and not continue lower? Yes, it hit the 10 a.m. low and bounced, but at this point right here, how do I know it's going to continue higher? Well, I don't. I can enter here. That is the first micro-macro cross. Where am I going to cover the trade? I don't want to cover the trade right there because it brings me in, it stops me out. The problem that I'm seeing from this signal here is, where do I place my stop loss? This here is the extreme point. This is where the buyers stop the sellers. Are the sellers going to walk away from this market? You know, given they've made this huge move lower, are they not going to fight the market back off of this little bit of a rally? You know, there was a rally here, the sellers fought it down. There was a little bit of a rally here, the sellers pushed it down. Here's a little bit more of a rally, and we kind of broke that swing high. But still, I know the sellers should try to push this market down. And this is the test of the extreme I'm talking about now. How far are the sellers going to be able to force the market? So that begs the question now, where do I place my stop? how far do I think the sellers can force the market? Well, I know the strongest point is down this swing low. But if I'm only going to risk 1% of my trading capital, you can see Trade Manager won't allow me to do that. I can't afford it. So then I looked at this little itty bitty swing low here, kind of tied in with that one, and with the turn in the macro line. So that would give me some staying power as the market moved against me. Now, I actually didn't get in there because we were looking to buy above the high. So we were lucky. I think the market got close but didn't quite bring us in. Oh, so there they go. So now we're getting the macro pullback scenario. Well, now this is looking a little bit more like, okay, the seller's still not making a real serious effort to push the market lower, but it's looking better. It's looking like, okay, the sellers are trying, the buyers are getting a little bit more active. The buyers gave it a little shove here. Maybe they'll give it another little shove here. So our macro pullback signal gives us a better chance to get in. We can still cover the trade there. And we got a little bit of room here to do a hit and run type trade because I'm still not convinced that the sellers have walked away from this market. But still an opportunity at a little bit of profit taking, looking a lot more attractive right here than it did right here. Right? Because now we have a little bit more structure to it. And then they come right back with a 4-arrow consolidation signal, practically the same entry point. And you could still risk it down here. The 4-arrow consolidation actually giving you even a little bit more structure if you wanted to run a slightly tighter stop. And then we got that little bit of a rally. But look at what happened shortly after we hit our profit objective. Red bar pullback all the way back to the lows, or red bar buy, I should say. So they're sorting things out at the moment. Oh, sorry guys. I hit the mute button by mistake. Let me just go over. I'm assuming, of course, you didn't catch any of that about the parabolics. I was pointing out what I call a parabolic flip, just really quick. If the parabolic goes out of sync and then comes back into sync, that tends to be a nice little filter, and I'll allow as many as 3 dots. So you can see we had one here, had several back here, over here also. The downside with using the parabolic flip is that sometimes it delays your entry a little bit more. But for those of you who like to perhaps have a little bit more confidence in your signal, besides something like a first micro macro cross or a 4-arrow consolidation or a macro pullback, you can throw a parabolic flip in there also. But you won't be missing out on anything if you choose not to use it. So here you can see the parabolic just flipped over. If they come back now and rally, let's use that parabolic flip. Let's see how that works out. So there's 2 dots. They need to start rallying now because I'm only going to give it 3. Nope, there's 3. There's 4. So this is a situation where the parabolic flip is not going to work for us. Possible late filter entry. We don't have our warning dot yet. That's odd. Oh, the pound finally slowing its decline. Oh, actually getting something resembling an early trend change signal here on the Falcon. It's a very quick little down, up, down pattern. The trend line just changes color as the signal prints. That's what makes that an early trend change signal. And it looks like you have a chance for a second push on that entry also. Let's shoot a trend line across the bottom here. some definite choppiness going on right now. Oop, doggone it, Eric, where were you looking? Nice macro pullback signal here. And again, what makes this one attractive, let's see, is that should be close to the trend line, but not quite, is that we have some room to profit here, right? We have a little bit of room before we start to encounter the highs. We can do our little hit and run type trade. Get in, grab a couple of bucks, get out. Joe says drive-by trading. Yeah. Wow. This is the same trend line here now on the eagle that we've been looking at. On the other charts, the eagle actually producing a green bar sell. You see this? A green bar sell signal. Oh, it never tripped with the hash mark. Our band is bullish, so I wouldn't be so keen to take it, but it's interesting all the same. All right, here we're getting a possible red bar buy signal in the hawk. We know that there tend to be only 2 red bar buys within a trend. Oh, don't have it just yet. Now the red bar buy, of course, we can trade it either way. This is our counter trend signal. in the hawk. We don't really have a test of the extreme, so we might anticipate the market will rally. We've got this swing low here. We can cover below there. We can certainly even dial down our risk a little more, or maybe just throw a onesie on it. Oh, our red bar buy disappeared. Now we're into red dots, into the possibility of a first micro macro cross. Yeah, Joe says he laughs every time I say a onesie. How come they don't make adult onesies? They used to. I think now they're called coveralls. Joe knows all about onesies. He says he's got a 2-year-old. So our Falcon here waffling a little bit. You know, we had a possible trend change signal lower, didn't trigger. Working on a possible trend change signal higher, didn't come through. Again, trend change signal lower, didn't come through. Now we're working on a possible trend change signal higher again. If it folds over here though, no, there they go. I was going to say if it folds over there, I could be persuaded to sell. Wow, are they really going to try to rally this back to the highs? Looks like everybody's liking this 4,300 number at the moment. We do have a first micro macro cross again. Well, and here they come again with that possible red bar buy. Notice now we do have something resembling a test of the extreme right there. Come on, give me that red bar buy. Come on, I dare ya. Ooh. Yeah, Heinz has got a question here about his trade manager seems to be producing the wrong numbers for his account size. Well, here while we're waiting, what you will want to do is go into your Strategies tab, highlight your trade manager. If you're going to make any changes, you're going to have to turn it off first and then remember to apply. But where you need to look is at the top here for your account balance. Now, normally it will, when you hook up to your trading account, it will by default pick up the account balance there. But sometimes you can override it by putting the account balance in here. See if that doesn't fix it. If that doesn't fix it, you can try removing it from your, what you're going to do is going to go here to your control panel, go down here to utilities and remove NinjaScript, and then find your trade manager, remove it, close everything, close your Ninja, reboot your Ninja, and try reinstalling it. If that still doesn't work, then I'm afraid you're going to have to shoot an email to Ben at support at indicatorwarehouse.com. Oh, and here's that first micro macro cross lower. Come on, get up there. We're going to do a stop limit on this one because I don't want to get slipped again. And we'll see if they retreat enough that I can actually get a fill. If they're going to get up there. There we go. Oops. So here's our first micro macro cross. They're fighting it lower. We'll see whether or not they can actually press it down. Now what I'm doing here is I've got my stop way up here. I'm trying to judge where the sellers are going to step in again. Obviously there's a little bit of buying going on now. The buyers didn't fold as I had hoped. So now we're into a macro pullback. Oh, now into yellow bars. Somewhere around here the sellers are going to have to start selling. Oh, come on, you guys. And they're going to wait all the way up there. All right, well, once they start moving, I can start to roll my stop in. Falcon's still looking very undecided. Let's see how our filter keeps changing color. Oh, and we had a red bar buy here on the Eagle also, so we're getting a mixed bag of signals at the moment. This actually tends to be a very strong buy signal, so well, my stop is in a good spot, but again, it's one of these situations where, oh, now we're working on a first micro macro cross higher. I guess I should have considered that. Yes, we're in an uptrend. Well, we'll see. Okay, well, they're obviously still rallying higher. Got a little bit anxious on that one. Oh, look at that waffling back and forth. The pound is pretty much done for the day, I think. Crude oil tapering off ever so slightly. They're taking their time. They're, I wonder if they're done. Well, everything's kind of dried up now. Yeah, like Joe says, the European traders are closing soon, and the traders are thinking about hitting the pub. Joe says we got triple top on the YM and the NQ. Let's take a look here on the NQ. Yeah, it's floundering. I would see this more as a trading range myself. I think, we're kind of in a congestion mode again. Probably nothing tradable until we get outside of this range. So once again, I'd be looking for this type of scenario where we break, retest, and go, or break, retest, and go. Oh, we'll give it a few more minutes, but if things don't start shaking up a bit, All right, well, they're making a run here at the lows, so it looks like we may have something tradable after all. Okay, we're getting a first micro-macro cross lower. We should get a trend change signal here, building on the Falcon, maybe even a macro pullback here. Remember, these things don't necessarily turn on a dime. Okay, so here comes that macro pullback now. It's obvious, though, that the market is kind of hitting the skids. Well, sort of obvious. Nothing, I suppose, is obvious in trading. All right, so here's a macro pullback signal. Oh, and now we're into yellow bars. Darn it, I almost thought we were going to have one there. All right, you guys, I think we're going to button up the room for the day. Oh, hold on, I see Dustin posted a question. Looks like I missed somebody's question. Hold on. Dustin asking, would your 742 on the Falcon have been a trend change? Let's take a look here at the Falcon. 742, that's back here. Right here. I would not consider that a trend change signal because, well, you know, in hindsight, you could say, yeah, that was a trend change. But what I need for a trend change signal, even an early trend change signal, is I need, if we're looking at the early trend change signal, it occurred right here. Right? We have our characteristic, in this case, down, up, down pattern, and the signal prints just as the trend line changes color, or sometimes shortly after the trend line changes color. That's what makes that an early trend change signal. The proper trend change signal looks like this, where we have the trend line change color. Here's the move that changes the trend line. There's the counter move, and then here comes our signal. What we're looking at right here, however, is the trend line changing color right here, but I don't have my down up, right? It just kind of continued on from there. Now, had the trend line gone out of sync for only a bar or maybe two, I would have ignored the the trend line, like if it had only gone out of sync for a bar or two like this, and then came back with a green bar, or pardon me, a green trend line, and that would have flipped my filter back over, that would have been as good as a late filter entry to me. But when it goes out of sync for 3 or 4 bars, then it's no longer as strong a signal. Now this one did work out probably primarily because of the trend, but no, if that's the signal you're looking at, that was not a late or a trend change signal. And likewise here, the trend line changed lower, but here's the down, here's the up, I'm waiting for the down, didn't get it. Okay, so now here's the up, here's the down, where's the up? Didn't get it. Here's the down, here's the up, where's the down? Didn't get it. Here's the up, here's the down, where's the up? There it is. So here we finally have a trend change signal. So I hope that was your question. If I still missed it, tell me and I will get back to it. Let me double check, make sure I didn't miss anybody else's question. Jim saying all the yellow bar shorts on the YM are long. Yeah, a yellow bar long short on the YM again. Let's see if I can pull some of those up. And where's the YM? Where'd you go? Oh shoot, did I close up my YM window? Oh, I'm sorry, I think I did. Well, I'm going to have to rebuild that chart. Joe's asking, when are you setting the room up again after this week? Oh, thanks, Jim. Jim sent me an email, so we'll take a look at that in the room tomorrow. Normally, I take a month off to do my own stuff. I've got some coaching commitments that I haven't been able to get to, and a lot of writing and such. And we're going to close this out here. Jim said the NQ did it here at 8:17 right here, where it flashed a buy signal, then reversed, and that actually produced a selling trade. All right, you guys, have yourselves a great day. If you are trading this afternoon, like I said, it looks like the NQ anyways is kind of stuck within this range. Once we get outside of that range, I think we'll have some follow through, but I wouldn't be surprised to kind of see it move sideways for a lot of the rest of the session. Crude oil still heading lower, and the pound recovering ever so slightly from the huge decline this morning. All right, you guys, we'll see you Friday morning. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.